On 24 July 1965, Leopard Flight, a flight of F-4s 30 miles west of Hanoi, completes its barrier combat air patrol mission protecting flights of F-105s attacking a munitions factory. As the flight sets course and climbs through a high, thin cirrus, a team of Russian surface-to-air missile operators, led by Lieutenant Mikhailovich, acquire the flight on their Fangson radar. Launching two missiles, each from two newly established missile sites, the missiles rapidly streak towards their targets, hitting and downing Leopard 2, the first surface-to-air missile shootdown of the Vietnam War. Operation Spring High. Just past noon on the 27th of July, 1965, flights of F-105Ds, thuds as they were affectionately called by their crews, started engines at Korat Royal Thai Air Force Base in Thailand. These were the first of 24 F-105s that would start over the next 15 minutes. This large massing of 105s to attack two surface-to-air missile sites known as SAMs was in retaliation for North Vietnam's first SAM shootdown of the war in F-4C 3 days earlier. Prior to this mission, all SAM sites had been off limits under the Lyndon Johnson administration's overly restricted rules of engagement. After completing their after-start checks, they began taxiing to marshal in the arming area at the end of the runway for their scheduled takeoff times. The 357th Tactical Fighter Squadron, a tactical air command unit, was deployed to Korat on temporary duty from McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas. The 12th Tactical Fighter Squadron, a Pacific Air Command Air Force unit, was also at Korat on temporary duty from Kadena Air Base, Okinawa. Five minutes later, 100 miles to the west, a similar scenario was being played out at Tok Lee Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand, with another 24 thuds. At Tok Lee, the 563rd was also a deployed squadron on temporary duty from McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas. Anxiety was higher than normal among the crews, as this was the first counter-SAM mission in the history of aerial combat. They'd been up since early pre-dawn, originally scheduled for morning attacks on all known SAM sites. But these missions were scrubbed at the last minute and replaced with a new order to strike only the two newest sites suspected of shooting down the F-4. This required frantic replanning and delayed the attack into the afternoon. The 80th Headhunters was the deployed Pacific Air Command Squadron at Tokli on temporary duty from Yokota Air Base, Japan. In the arming area at the end of the runway, maintenance crews worked under hot and noisy conditions, checking the planes one final time. While armorers removed the safety pins from the loaded munitions, the base chaplain walked the line and gave spiritual support to one of the largest forces of the war forming to date. Finally, as the check of each aircraft was completed, the pilot was shown the removed safety streamers indicating his plane was ready. At 12:50, Pepper Flight from the 357th Tactical Fighter Squadron at Karat was the first flight to take off.
Karat Tower, Pepper Flight of 4, number 1 for takeoff.
Roger, Pepper, Karat Tower, winds 240 at 10 with occasional gust to 15. Clear for takeoff.
Roger, Pepper Flight, clear for takeoff. The Spring High mission required air refueling support. The flights rendezvoused with assigned KC-135 tankers orbiting at the Thai-Laotian border to top off their fuel tanks for the 450-plus mile trip to their targets. While waiting his turn on the tanker, Cedar 3 from the 12th Tactical Fighter Squadron experienced an air turbine motor failure and had to abort the mission.
Cedar 3 is aborting. ATM failure. 4, stay with the flight. I'll take it home myself.
This abort, along with the 357th Tactical Fighter Squadron's Willow Lead ground abort,
reduced Karat's strike package to 22 aircraft. The plan called for the Karat force to approach SAM Site 6 from the south, while the Tokli force would proceed up the Red River and fly down the Red River Valley and attack SAM Site 7 from the northwest. The two SAM sites, separated by less than 3 miles, presented a high potential for mid-air collisions because of two convergent flight paths of the attackers. Special emphasis was placed during briefings by the flight leads on how they would avoid this danger. With 2.5 to 3 minutes separation between flights, the aircraft within each of the two forces were spread over 100 miles as they ingressed over Laos at 17,000 feet.
Isn't that beautiful?
Real-time coded broadcast warnings of SAM radar status were provided by RB66C. The first coded warning, "Blue bells are singing," indicating the SAM radars were active, was broadcast while the F-105s were strung out from the tankers to the lead flights reaching the North Vietnamese border. The calls continued alternating between singing and silent as the flights proceeded on their mission. By 1355, Healy from the 563rd Tactical Fighter Squadron and the first of the Tokli flights was approaching their turning point at the Red River. As they started their turn, they began receiving heavy flak, forcing the flights to descend and fly down the Red River Valley below their planned 100-foot altitude. For the next 5 minutes, the flight made a high-speed dash down the Red River Valley, kicking up rooster tails as they flew low over the rice paddies towards SAM Site 7. Number 4 in the flight was an 80th Tactical Fighter Squadron bird, which filled in as a spare at the last minute for a 563rd ground abort.
Bà con ơi, máy bay tới, máy bay tới. Bà con ơi, máy bay tới, máy bay tới.
The first distress call was heard over mission frequency as Rambo flight started its descent over Laos, approaching the North Vietnamese border.
Healy 2 is hit. Roger, stay with it. You gotta get over the next hill. I got smoke in the cockpit. Keep it going. You gotta get over the next ridge.
Captain Costco had a good shoot and was observed to land in the Black River.
3-4, go to the tanker. I'll stay here at camp.
Roger, watch your altitude lead. There's no news down there.
Lead orbited and made multiple passes for 30 minutes over where 2 went down. Unfortunately, he was never seen again after going into the river and was presumed to have drowned. For the next 12 minutes, SAM Site 7 is almost under continuous attack with CBU-2s and napalm from the succeeding 5 flights. The enemy defenses were surprised and astonished by the low-altitude approaches of the F-105s. They had never experienced an attack this low before. Many of the guns could not be lowered sufficiently because of the protective sandbag berms. This required the defenders to remove layers of sandbags between attacks in order to aim their guns at the attackers. The extremely low altitude, high-speed dash towards the target not only hampered the defenses, but it also made navigation and target acquisition extraordinarily difficult. Lead acquires the target at the last minute and calls out he is too far right of the barracks.
Damn, we're lined up on the SAM site. Don't make another pass.
So Lead continues on his current course and takes the flight over the SAM site directly where they dropped their ordnance. Valiant 4, in frustration and desperate to hit the enemy, fires his Vulcan gun, spraying 20mm rounds towards a distant gun emplacement as the flight breaks to the right. In Rambler flight, we descended and leveled off at 100 feet as we crossed into North Vietnam and headed for the Red River. Approaching the 120-degree turn for our dash towards the target, I purposely lagged my flight to make room for the turn into me. Unfortunately, I didn't compensate enough and did not have enough altitude to stack low to keep the flight in sight as the turn steepened. I increased my G in the turn in the hopes of staying clear of the flight and hoped Lead maintained the necessary spacing. Approaching the run-in heading to the target, I slowly rolled out of the turn and was relieved to see the flight had come out of the turn in a good spread formation as we descended to 50 feet. Lead continues descent to where he finally leveled off around 25 feet. Flying formation this low to the ground required me to concentrate on Lead, but I would occasionally take a quick glance out the front of my aircraft. We were in a wide, flat valley with little opportunity for any terrain masking as we followed the Red River, which wound towards the target. Approaching the confluence of the Red and Black Rivers, the last prominent checkpoint just short of the target, Lead climbed to 50 feet and rocked his wings, signaling the flight into fingertip formation with the flag instructions.
Ramblers, ready, 3, 2, 1, takeoff.
Simultaneously, I felt my 4 napalm cans depart my aircraft, joining the other 12 cans tumbling from the rest of Rambler flight.
Vic, you have lead.
As soon as I heard Vic, I went into a hard right turn, leading the flight away from the SAM Site 6 directly ahead of us. Once I rolled out on a southwest heading, Art called me taking the lead. Corvette is the last Talkley flight that is supposed to strike SAM Site 7 barracks. They approached their target at near 600 knots and had to extend their speed brakes to reduce their speed to 500 for their napalm release.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Once out of the target area, the flights climbed to altitude. The attack on SAM Site 7 ends with a strike by Corvette flight, but nearby SAM Site 6 is still under heavy attack. Its missile launch area has been hit by Karat's first 3 flights. Cedar is the first flight to attack the site's barracks. Two is hit just prior to reach the target, but is still able to release his weapons. Before crashing. Dogwood and Chestnut are the last remaining Karat flights. They're tasked as cleanup flights and are to strike whatever has survived the previous attacks. Leading the approach to SAM Site 6, Dogwood is met with a heavy barrage of AAA.
Damn, they just sell them.
And 2 is hit while attempting to avoid the bursting flak.
Flames are trailing a good 150 feet behind you. Get out! Get out!
Negative, it's still flying.
Better clean off the wing, Frank.
I've lost the ATM, but I've got standby instruments. I'm heading for the red straight ahead.
Frank, you better get out. It's really burning.
I've got to go, lead. I'm losing control. It's not responding.
Landing near the top of a small knoll,
Roger 2. Lead is reading you. We're going to get a fix on your position. Frank, you got to go. Fuel's getting low. You've been ordered out of the area. We're going to get you a chopper.
he is concealed by thick brush and avoids busloads of militia, which quickly arrive to search for him.
Canasta Flight, a pair of Navy A-1 Spads, locate Tulu and fly in search of a rescue helicopter.
This is Dogwood 2, do you read me? Canasta, I'm right off your wingtip now.
A Jolly Green, the first CH-3C in theater, locates him and attempts a pickup using a cable hoist. Unfortunately, the hoist failed after getting Dogwood 2 only 10 feet into the air. With an enemy militia quickly approaching, the CH-3C crew had no other alternative but to attempt to leave the area with Dogwood 2 hanging below them. Dogwood 2 hung on for dear life as the departing CH-3C drug him through the brush before finally locating an open area in which to let him back down. The Jolly Green landed several yards from Dogwood, requiring Dogwood to make a mad dash for the open helicopter door under fire from a nearby structure. Diving into the chopper, it immediately rose into the air as it took a hit in the crew compartment, fortunately missing the pilot and co-pilot and completed a successful rescue. Two hours and 35 minutes after taking off, Ramber Flight returns to Talk Lee. Operation Spring High was a costly, fatal mission with last-minute changes, wrong tactics, improper ordnance, and a high loss of aircraft and airmen. The North Vietnamese, anticipating a retaliatory attack, vacated the missiles and launchers at the two new SAM sites involved in the first SAM shootdown of the war, erected fake missiles, and brought in more guns to turn the site into flak traps. Of the 46 F-105s that attacked the two SAM sites, 6 aircraft were lost. Healy 2 was the first KIA casualty of the mission. Pepper 2, in the first Karat flight to strike SAM Site 6, was heavily damaged and collided with its lead, flying a safety chase position as they attempted an emergency recovery at Udon Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand. Pepper Lead and 2 did not survive the mid-air collision and were classified as KIA. Hudson 2 and Cedar 2 were not seen to bail out and were initially listed as MIA. Fortunately, they survived the war and were repatriated after being held as prisoners of war 7.5 years. Dogwood 2 was the only pilot shot down and rescued. It was his first day as a captain.